You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Hey, glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
and Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Today is one that I really like, and that is creating multiple income streams. This should be a good one.
Yes, it should. There's so many different ways that you can. I love online business. I just love it. So many different ways that you can bring revenue into your business without having to be laser focused on just one area.
Tell me about it. I definitely think that, especially online, it's such a great platform or such a great opportunity to have several income streams. And I think it's important. I keep going on about this all the time. I keep saying that it's really important to have several income streams, because you just never know what can happen to if you just have the one and that goes down, then you're kind of stuck. And if you have several income streams, you've got several income sources, and if anything were to happen to one of them, then the other ones get you through that time. And I think that's why it's so important. Definitely any business really, but especially if you're online, several income streams, to me it's a must. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I kind of think of it like stocks, like stock trading. And it's like, if you put all your money in one stock and that stock tanks, then you're just done. You're out. Whereas if you have it more diversified and you've got a little here and a little there, then they kind of balance each other out.
That's right.
I never like, the old phrase, putting all your eggs in one basket.
There you go.
It's just too dangerous,
Definitely.
The world we live in is just too volatile to put all that trust in one platform, whether it's Amazon or other platforms.
Absolutely. And I think you and me both, we have managed to create several income streams as well. So I think the more I started in 2019 with my online business. And the longer it goes on, the more I realize how important those several income streams are. And I keep adding to them. And also because it's just really fun to find new income streams. And you try some out, some work, some don't work. And it's all about finding your niche, really, finding what works for you and what doesn't. And what works for one person might not work for another person. But I think I've got some income streams now that I kind of focus on now. What's it like for you, Keith? Have you got several that you're sticking with, or are you still playing with some of them?
Yes and yes. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, some are going to work, some aren't. Some are going to take more effort and more energy than others do. So, so some, right out of the gate, I'll start seeing success with, and other ones are kind of, more of a slow burn. And I think that there's a place for each of those. But I mean, there are probably 5 or 6 different avenues that I have diversified out into. Some bring in more money than others, but at some point, at least in my business, we only have a finite amount of time. We talk about that all the time. And so, it's at some point I have to balance, is this moving the needle enough to justify the time I'm putting into it? Now, I don't think that that's something that I personally consider when I first start something, because I understand that it's going to take time. I do get excited, like you said, about new ventures, new avenues that I could be exploring. I also make sure that I do my due diligence and I do enough research on it so I know ahead of time what is going to be expected of me. What is it going to take for me to be successful and start seeing some success in that, and then I decide whether that's an avenue that I have the time and energy to put into.
Yeah, I agree. I think my situation is very similar. There are things that I start and then I never expect too much to begin with, because you just don't know. It could
Right.
work, it might not work. And I always think if I enjoy doing it, then I always tend to give it a little bit longer if it doesn't
Right.
pay off straight away. Because to me, it's all about enjoying your work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when something obviously pays off straight away, that's great, and you invest more time in it. But if something takes a long time, then you do have to consider, shall I continue with this? And that's really hard, because there's one income stream for us that we put a lot of time in, and it just didn't pay off. And we're still debating whether we should leave it or keep it going. And it's so hard to let go of that because of all the work that's gone
Right.
into it. But there comes a point when you have to make a decision. And that's part of the negatives when you're starting several things. But other than that, I think it's a good idea to keep trying different things and seeing what works for you and what you enjoy doing. Most of the time, the things that I enjoy doing are the ones that work.
Yeah.
Luckily.
It's funny how that works out.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, like a perfect example for me is Merch by Amazon. That's something that I got into a couple of years ago. And for those people who don't know what that is, basically, Amazon has a platform where you can put designs up on shirts and a bunch of different products and hoodies and things like that, and then sell it on their platform. And so I did that, and it took me a while to get accepted. I think I got accepted in a couple months, though I've heard people that takes 6 months. And so I went hard and heavy on that for a while, and I just I saw some success, but not enough to justify the time I was putting into it. And going back to what you were saying, I wasn't enjoying it. Like, it felt more like work than it did, enjoyment. I love the researching part of it. But I'm not a big artist, so the design I'd have to hire out for that, which again is just more money going out, not enough coming in. And so I still have that brand, I still have that part of my business, but I've definitely stepped back on that, and I basically just have products that are already out there bringing in the money, and I really haven't put anything new up in the last probably year. So again, I do agree that it really comes down to, at some point, once you've put in what you consider to be enough time, are you getting that back? There's definitely going to be ones that just don't hit for you. And to be able to recognize, okay, I put in way more time in this than I'm getting back. Maybe it's time for me to look for another, area, because it could be another area that you end up doing really well with. And you'll never know if you keep focusing on an area that's just not doing anything.
Exactly. It's what you said earlier about you don't have an unlimited amount of time, so you do have to spend your time on the things that pay off the most for you, or that are more beneficial for you. So with Merch by Amazon, I never even got into it. First of all, you have to apply to get into it.
Right.
And I think they never accepted me at the beginning, but this was when I first started KDP. So I haven't tried again, and I can't see me somehow doing it, because I just know that it's not going to be something I'm going to enjoy that much.
Right.
And again, it's on a platform, on the Amazon platform, and there are always so many restrictions when you're using an outside platform. I haven't got the energy to kind of deal with that, but it works really well for some people. So there's some very successful people doing Merch by Amazon. So I think it just depends as well on the person, on what you enjoy doing and what you want to put your time and energy into.
I agree. I think, a former student of mine, Tom Schmidt, he, shout out to Tom if you're listening. Something that he did when it came to his books is he gave himself X amount of time, X amount of dollars that he was going to invest in it before he even started. And I think that's a good mentality to have when you're thinking about, getting multiple streams of income, is before you go into it, say, okay, I'm giving it X amount of time or X amount of investment, whatever guide that you want to set for yourself. That way, because it's very easy to once you start doing it, feeling invested enough in it where you just don't want to feel like a quitter. You don't want to quit. But it's not quitting, in my opinion. It's kind of just cutting off the fat, like for your business. Again, we only have so much time. So you need to figure out what is the most efficient use of your time. And after a while, if this avenue could be great for some people. Like you said, Merch by Amazon. I know plenty of people who are making a lot of money doing it. And, kudos to them for being able to figure it out. And it's not like it's a platform that I'm not familiar with, because Amazon is, what I use for so many other, avenues that I use. But to be able to know, okay, I've reached that limit. My time is better spent, not necessarily on such and such an avenue, but on finding another avenue, maybe, I definitely am a proponent for having multiple income streams.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's it kind of, when I hear stories about people who have had accounts shut down or whose businesses failed, I always think about that and I think, wow, this is where having multiple income streams is a lifesaver, really, for most people, and not just for online businesses. But I remember, for example, during the pandemic here in the UK, a lot of businesses that suffered were the hospitality businesses. So a lot of restaurants in London, they just didn't get any people. London was empty. It was like a ghost town. And they pivoted. They kind of then went into takeaways. We call them here. Do you call them takeaways? Takeouts, I think you call them. Yeah. So, and a lot of them did really well out of that. So, and the ones that were already doing takeouts, obviously they did so much better because they were already in that business. So, I can honestly say having multiple income streams is a must almost, because you really want to protect yourself from anything that could happen to one of your income streams. So it's one of those things you have to just see what you could do that complements your existing business maybe as well.
Yeah, I would say the first thing to do would be maybe jot down on some, on a piece of paper, what you're already doing and what are some kind of branches, ways to branch off from that. But also, what are things that you enjoy doing? If you enjoy drawing, then, maybe doing, something like Merch by Amazon, doing designs is a good idea. Maybe creating an account on Upwork or Fiverr and outsourcing your artistic skills, might be an option. One thing that I do, which I don't suggest other people do, is and I've kind of branched away from this recently, is using the same platform for everything. Like I said, I do KDP, I do the books, so I'm on Amazon. I do Merch by Amazon, again on Amazon, and that's putting a lot of reliability on Amazon. Now, granted, Amazon's a big name. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, whether you'll like them or not. But it's not a good business model, in my opinion, to be solely reliant on any one or two platforms. So, I do know people that are on Amazon, but maybe they have an Etsy store. They might do eBay. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do, both that are related to what your core business is, and then maybe a few little side things that you just enjoy doing.
Absolutely. I so agree, and that just really resonates with me, because the other thing is, if you're relying on any third-party platform, it's always, you're depending on them. And when you were just saying about that, I was thinking of courses. When you're creating courses as another income stream, there are several platforms where you can take advantage, a bit like Amazon, take advantage of the existing customers that are already there. So, for example, Skillshare or Udemy. So if you don't have your own audience, that's where you would create another course, for example. But you're kind of reliant on that platform. So if something happens to that platform, that's it. Whereas if you have your own platform, that's another, I would class that as another income stream altogether,
Right.
because it's comes from a different place and you're in control of it. So there are just so many ways of creating different income streams. And it's also about who you partner with and who you create that income stream with, or how you create that income stream. So it's all about choosing the safest way as well, the way that it's like a risk assessment almost.
Right.
You're trying to choose the lowest risk possible. So that's something that I always choose with.
Yeah, it's the risk reward. Another income stream that I have that we talked about in a whole nother episode was the affiliate marketing. And that's definitely something where you're basicking promoting somebody else's stuff. So a great place to do that would be like in your newsletters, or doing that on in your social media or whatever. Again, something that is related to your business. So obviously you're not, if your audience is all interested in in one thing, and you don't want to really be promoting something to them that has absolutely no relation to them, because they're not going to be interested in it anyway. And it could, so it's just, it really comes down to, like I said, that's why I always like writing things down, but maybe I'm just old and I like that, but yeah, I would, focus on your area, what you do, for your business, for your core business. What are some ways that you can reach out and branch out from that? And then, like I said, then find a couple things that, that are things that you just think you might enjoy. What are some hobbies that you have? Is there any way that you can monetize that? And, and these aren't things that you need to go all in on all at once, you just, because at least for me, not everything, like we said, not everything hits, not everything is going to be a success. And so, having something on the list to fall back on, to be like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to try this. Then it kind of prevents me from getting too far along in something. And, it keeps me more focused. And so I found that as a good kind of checks and balance, to make sure that I don't invest too much time and effort in something that's just not paying off.
Exactly. That's so true. It's one of those things. And I think you can just sort of dip your toes in the water at first. Like you said, you don't have to go all in. You can just try it out and see. And if you're wondering, well, what other income stream can I generate? Then look at your competition, for example. Are they doing something that you could be doing as well? What kind of complements your existing business? That's one way to look at it. So I mean, I could tell you a few of my income streams. I've got a YouTube video that's in a way one income stream. I've got my Amazon KDP low content book business. I've got 2 book brands that I'm kind of promoting. Then I've got, what else have I got? When I'm on the spot, and I can't think. Affiliate marketing,
right? Courses
that I create, my blogs. Although that's an example of when things don't work so well. So they're still a work in progress, really. But I've got high hopes for them. So that's another one. My Etsy shops, I nearly forgot about them. So we sell print on demand on Etsy as well, so different products and printables. That's the other one. So to me, that is a completely separate one. Again, on Etsy, but also on my websites. So yeah, there's just so many income streams that you could have, and they all take a lot of time and effort. But you start them slowly. I mean, I know I just rattled off a whole list here, but I didn't start them all at once. I just went, one by one. and you slowly add to them over a long period of time. So yeah, it's definitely possible to do that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I've got a list very similar to yours.
Yeah.
I don't have the Etsy store yet, but I do. I've got the YouTube channel, but I also do videos for Amazon products on Amazon. And so, and then like you said, I've got the affiliates, I've got the books, obviously, both the nonfiction, the children's brand, the puzzle books that I do. So different brands under that, the courses. So yeah, there's a lot of different avenues, the merch by Amazon that we talked about. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many different possibilities, and there's plenty of other stuff out there. I used to outsource my writing skills and KDP skills on Upwork for many years when I first started out. And so like I said, there's so many different income stream possibilities, and way more than what you and I have rattled off. There's plenty that we haven't tried.
Absolutely.
But I really think that, again, it can be very overwhelming when you hear these big long lists of what we're doing, and people can be like, there's no way I have time to do all that. Rome wasn't built in a day. It was, each one was done, by itself, at least for me. I focused on one at a time, and it's funny because, like, I never would have thought of doing affiliate marketing, and then my YouTube channel started doing really well, and their products I was using anyway, so it just made sense to to kind of pivot and offer that as as a different income stream.
Yeah, definitely. No, that actually, I remember doing a video on my income streams, and I think it was a video on my plans for this year. And I had quite a few, and even by the end of the video, I thought, oh, am I really planning to do all that? And somebody in the comments said, how do you find the time to do all of that? And I kind of thought about it. I thought, actually, they're so right, that it does take time, but somehow you don't realize that you're doing all these things because you're not, like I said earlier, you're not doing them all at once. You're starting one, and then you're building on that. And then once one of them is in place, it kind of runs itself, and then you can start another one. So that's the good thing about some income streams. You only have to set them up, and then you just maintain them, and they're not that time consuming anymore. But they do take time to set up. I will say that. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Well, and one thing that you'd mentioned before is doing things that you enjoy. And when you're enjoying it, it doesn't feel as much as work. And it's funny, but one thing that I tend to enjoy, it's funny, I tend to enjoy an avenue when I start seeing income come in.
Oh, even better.
I enjoy that. I enjoy that a bit more than when I don't.
I know.
I'm all for doing things just for the sheer joy of it or the art of it. But when you start seeing results from that, whether it's monetary or any other result, that gives you that, that positive feedback that you're doing something right.
There's nothing like it, is there?
Yeah, and then it doesn't feel as much work for me.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. They do take time, and that's why I think that, just find one that you might be interested in, and try to, give that some, energy and see what happens. If you're already in a niche and you already have a brand, and you're wondering what other avenues you could do, what other income streams you can come up with, and you can't think of any, feel free to, if you're watching this on YouTube, put a comment and let us know, and we'll try to give you some suggestions. If you're listening to this on the podcast, our email address is in the description of the podcast. You can feel free to email us, and I can't promise we'll have some income stream ideas for you, but hey, we'll do our best to try to give some suggestions.
Definitely. So here's actually a question for you, Keith. What's your favorite income streams of all? In terms of enjoyment.
In terms of enjoyment, it's I actually like. It's funny. I like doing the Amazon videos. I really do. Because it's the videos I do for the YouTube channel are all focused on books, and that's great. I mean, I love writing books and creating books, but with the Amazon videos I do, I can create a video for anything. It can be a board game, it can be, I just got through doing one for these little hats that, for little toddlers. My granddaughters love those hats. And so I did a video on those. And so it's just, there's so much variety and variability in the videos I'm creating, and I'm completely in control of it. I'm not being told you have to do a video on this, or I'm not in any specific lane. I mean, I do have videos that, I gear more towards, board gaming type videos, but I don't have to. If I see an electronic, a laptop that I want to do a video on, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great.
What about you?
Oh, that's a really hard question, because I
you
enjoy
started
so
it.
many. I know, but that's because I thought I can push that question onto you. It's hard to answer because I enjoy so many aspects of all different income streams.
Right.
I love creating books. That's one thing. I love creating courses, funny enough, because I'm creating one at the moment and I'm really into it and can't wait to get back onto it. And I think it's anything that's creative. The bits that I don't enjoy so much are the technical bits where, for example, when you're creating books on Amazon, you have to create A+ content to showcase your books, to show the reader what your book is about. And I find doing those sort of tasks a little bit, even though it's creative as well, because you have to put in images and they're less creative, let's say.
It's more tedious.
So it's more tedious. I think I prefer the kind of things where there's a lot of creativity and I can go where I like.
Right.
I also don't like things with deadlines. That's another one. I feel under pressure when there's a deadline. So things like maybe affiliate sales when there's a deadline, when there's a launch of something, that I find less enjoyable. But yes, I think making books is probably one of my favorites. Yeah. I can make them in my own time as well. So
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually, it's funny you mentioned a course, because I'm actually in the middle of creating a new course as well. So, and yeah, it's a blast.
It is.
And like you said, I mean, I love writing children's books. But you asked me for one. So yeah, the one is definitely the video. And the truth is it really ties into what you said. It's just, it's the creativity that I can put into it. There's no deadlines. There's no, yeah. So that's definitely my favorite. But yeah, I mean, just, and I know there are people that are exact opposite of us, and they like, the structure and the deadlines and things like that. And that's fine, because you can always set your own deadlines. You can hold yourself accountable and say, okay, I'm going to, if you want to do puzzle books, I'm going to create X amount of puzzle books this week. You can, if you want to, do affiliate sales, you can, say, okay, I want to, make X amount of dollars doing it. And so you can structure it however feels comfortable to you.
Yeah. Sometimes I welcome a structure or a deadline, because I'm I'll do this later. I procrastinate a lot, and a structure is good, and if you have a deadline, the way I make myself feel better about deadlines is to think, well, if I didn't have the deadline, I wouldn't finish this. So, it's one way of coming to terms with it and embracing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it's done, you can get back to the stuff that's fun anyway.
That's it. And then you feel really proud of yourself because you've done something that you wanted to get finished. So, yeah.
Right. This has been another great Mastermind, Nuria. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's Mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leaving us a review and let us know what you thought. Until next week, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.